Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, worshippers of all ages, welcome to YouTube. My name is SeaRaptor, and today we're bringing you our first look at Tier 10 Italian cruiser, Venezia. At last, we come to the top of the line, the pinnacle of Italian cruiser design, or as I've come to think of her, a Mogami on steroids. First up, health pool. 51,800 HP here for Venezia. Pretty good, just 100 hit points behind Hindenburg. She's very, very competitive here, ahead of Zao and Des Moines, but behind the German and the French and pretty much all the super cruisers at Tier 10, like you would expect. You know, Moskva and Stalingrad and Yoshino all have more hit points than this. As has become the norm, her 28% torpedo production ties Moskva for best in tier. Everybody else is way worse than this. If you're coming into this expecting Venezia's armor to be anything like Brindisi, you are in for a bit of a surprise. The crazy Italians have taken a page out of the French playbook here and gone for a spaced armor scheme. Let me try and show you what I'm talking about here. Here we go. So the outer belt, okay, the outer belt that runs all the way from the bow at the waterline all the way astern here is 40 millimeters. The only time you lose, well, it's actually 60 back here by the steering gear. That's kind of nice. But it's 40 everywhere else, okay? But then if I turn that off, you can see here, first of all, make sure you see that gap, right? There's a physical gap in between that outer belt and then the Citadel armor belt, which is now 165 millimeters buried down here in the hull. There's 90 millimeters of armor on the roof there. And one thing you should pay attention to here, the height of the Citadel sticks up above the water. This is a bit higher than Henri's, right? Henri's Citadel sits like inches above the waterline. This thing does stick up a bit. So she's going to be a little vulnerable, especially when flashing broadside, hence the fancy smoke. That'll be helpful for that. She has, let me turn it back on here. She has 30 millimeters of deck armor throughout. Of course, the extremities are all still 25. That's the same as Brindisi. Is that going to make her more survivable or let her bounce battleship shells? Well, I don't know. This 40 millimeter strake, this is actually less than you had one tier down. I'm not convinced this is going to be, I have not run the numbers, so I'm sure somebody smarter than me will tell me in the comments whether or not this is going to let her bounce battleship shells. My suspicion is it won't. But we'll keep our eyes open. As we pointed out on Brindisi, her turret armor is still not amazing. So Main Armament Modification 1 and Preventive Maintenance are the order of the day when you go to fit this thing out. Now, I compared her to Mogami earlier for a reason, right? If you're familiar with Mogami's 155 Mogami, I should say, her turret layout, it looks just like this, right? You have 3 triple-barreled turrets forward of the superstructure and 2 aft. The difference is that Venezia comes to the dance with 203 millimeter barrels instead of the 155s like you find on Mogami. Venezia is going to pack a nasty throw weight with all of these 8-inch shells. Again, these are the same 55 caliber barrels you found, you should be used to by now from playing Amalfi and Brindisi. So the shell performance should be comfortable and familiar. Her range goes out to a 17.1 kilometers, which feels kind of bad. Again, captains are left with kind of a tough choice in upgrade slot 6. Do you put in main battery modification 3 to improve her reload, or do you put in fire control system modification 2 to bump her range up to, I think it works out to 19.9 kilometers. I'm not really sure which is the right way to go just yet, but I am very much looking forward to playing this ship on live when we get the chance, and we'll put her through both tests, put her through her paces, try both things out, and see what we like. Now, one other thing worth noting while we're talking about her main battery. One of the things that made Mogami was that her forward 2 turrets sat at the same level on the deck, such that this middle turret here could not fire over the top of the one in front of it when firing directly over the bow. The turret would have to turn so that the barrels would line up on either side, right? And then you could fire all 3 of these forward turrets. You can see here, just from the resting position of the barrels, that at certain ranges, this middle turret will be able to fire all 3 of these over the bow. But at certain ranges up close, only the A turret and the C turret will be able to fire there. So that's just something to note because of how those turrets are elevated. This one in the middle is not a true super firing position. It's kind of like half super firing. It's kind of strange. How does she clock in detection-wise? Well, let's have a look here. 15.7 base detection. Not great, but not terrible. Fully rigged for stealth, she'll come down to 12.3 kilometers. This actually does make her stealthier than Hindenburg. What? but still easier to spot than many other Tier 10 heavy cruisers like Des Moines or Zao. Even Yoshino, super cruiser Yoshino, is stealthier than Venezia. Something to watch out for? Yeah, maybe, but at least there aren't any Tier 10 battleships that are stealthier than this. Just like Brindisi, we see here a 36.6 knot top speed. This makes her the fastest Tier 10 cruiser on the board. Again, unless we're talking about an Henri with its speed booster up. Venezia's torpedo armament takes a small step backwards here. She goes from quadruple turrets, quadruple launchers back to triples. She retains the longer range torpedoes with a bigger alpha, and the reload correspondingly gets better again, so she can put more of these in the water over the course of a match, but she loses that fourth tube that she used to have. On paper right now, this AA firepower seems pretty solid. One quirk of the entire line, I haven't really mentioned this to this point, is that the long-range anti-aircraft aura on all of these Italian cruisers caps out at 4.6 kilometers. That just feels really bad. They are not going to be terribly useful for defending teammates, but for self-defense, this AA suite should be sufficient. Like Brindisi, she does not have a short-range aura, and all of her DPS is packed into the long-range aura here, and then the mid-range aura, which, of course, if you've read the dev blogs and seen Scuttlebutt lately, you know that eventually we're going to get back to where these will now stack up. So as the ships move from the long-range aura into the mid-range, they'll be taking all of this AA damage, again, just like they did back in the old pre-0.8.0 system. Consumables-wise, again, we're singing a very familiar song here. Damage control party, full throttle smoke, choice of catapult fighter or spotting aircraft, and then of course, because high-tier cruiser, we get a standard high-tier cruiser heal. If you are coming to the videos and you not really sure what this full throttle smoke is about, go check out the video on Tier 5 Montecuccoli, where I explain how this works. Anyway, guys, there you go. That's your first look at Tier 10 Italian cruiser Venezia. I'm pretty excited for this ship. The Italian cruiser line in general just looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm a little concerned about the reload speeds on the main battery right now, but I think, again, I really feel like Wargaming is just erring on the side of caution until they see how the semi-armor piercing shells behave in reality in the hands of regular players. And then once they start to see some data come in on those, they'll start adjusting accordingly. Thanks for watching, guys. I do appreciate your time. Be safe out there. See you around the channel, and I'll catch you next time.